Hello, this is Mike at GameFromScratch, and today we are going to take a look at the available game development communities. Now, to be honest, this is as much a question as it is a conversation on my behalf, because I am floundering a bit in this particular area. Before, it used to be very clear where people of game development all kind of gathered together, and it's becoming less and less clear so today. So today I'm going to run through some of the places where game developers get together, collaborate, discuss, and talk. And hopefully down below in the comments you can suggest some of the ones I missed. Perhaps I'm just not aware of them, because it does seem like a lot of these are actually becoming less popular as time goes on. And that's kind of sad, because we have more and more game developers than ever, but the major game development communities, at least the generalized one, which we'll talk about in a second, they seem to be shrinking. So without further ado, let's talk about some of those communities. Now, all of these are websites that we're talking about with one possible exception. And the first one I'm going to talk about today is Reddit's RGameDev forum. Now, I'm a big fan of Reddit. I use Reddit pretty much daily. I enjoy the conversations there. There are a diverse number of subreddits, obviously, and RGameDev has always been a bastion on Reddit. It hasn't really had the trolls, the really bad aspects of Reddit going, so it's been a good place to discuss. But as of late, it's kind of getting more and more... I don't know how to describe it. The conversation quality has become very samey. The stuff that's getting upvoted is very samey. It's not useful stuff anymore, which is kind of disappointing. It's kind of hard to describe, but the level of conversation has definitely gone downhill. And I've talked to a number of people that frequent RGameDev, and they're kind of in the same boat. They just don't go nearly as often as they used to. But I am still a daily contributor. I do enjoy RGameDev. My name there is Seraph. Very consistently, my username is quite often Seraph, to be honest. But RGameDev is definitely one of those places. Now, another one that used to be extremely popular, but seems to be dying off a bit, the activity on the forums is really, really down, and that's GameDev.net. And of the general purpose game development forums, this one is definitely the one that's been out there the longest. And again, I'm quite active on this as Seraph, but I've just not gone. Consistently less and less activity, and the little bit less activity there is, the less it draws me in. Now, another popular forum, and this one's more focused on the Ludum Dare indie game scene, and it's TigSource, the independent game forums. I've kind of always been a little bit alien to this, because there's a lot more focus on things like 8-bit art creation and that kind of stuff, and that's never really been my thing. I've frequented here to some degree, but it's never really meshed with me perfectly. But definitely this is one of the popular forums, especially if you are into the game jams and the Ludum Dare type stuff, or you're a real big fan of 8-bit indie game style creations, because that really seems to be the dominant focus of this site. But again, it is another community. It seems to be going fairly strong. Like I said, I'm not incredibly active in it, so I couldn't tell you if it's faded off like GameDev.net is, unfortunately. And there was one other one called Flipcode, and that was like Mecca. That was like the divine place to go for game development talk, but sadly it's been dead for a number of years. Someone tried to revive it a year or two back, and it just never took off, sadly. Now, there is a very big possibility that I am just kind of having one of those getting old, get off my lawn moments, because the next topic seems to be where a lot of people are moving, and frankly, I don't understand it. And that's Discourse. Now, Discourse seems to, people are running Discourse servers like mad. I don't really understand how Discourse server is anything different than IRC. It seems to just be basically topic-based chats. But I've never really been a big IRC chat type guy. I find it's too in the now. I like the phased time approach of most forums, whereas IRC basically is, it sucks you in more. You have to be more of an active person to be involved. And basically, if I'm involved in something like Discourse or IRC, I'm not creating tutorials or programming. It's too time-consuming in a sense. But this may be where everyone's gone. Now, this conversation I had just recently on Twitter. So basically, where are all the game developer sites going? Why do the activities seem to be falling off, or the quality seem to be falling off? And there were a couple theories on that. One is that there are so many game developers that the communities just aren't as needed as they were, which is kind of strange. But as you move away from being niche, you don't need these niche communities. But the other biggest one was that the forums themselves for the engines are taking over. So nobody cares about generalized game development anymore. At least that was the argument. Where they would go for their news is the actual forums for their product they work with. So if you were a Unity programmer, well, let's go through a couple of communities. Unreal Engine has an incredibly active, like here we see 47,000 posts in the Marketplace forum. Generally, it's the general program forum that catches the most 58,000 general posts, 52,000 work in process. So obviously this is a community that is very active. So there is possibly where people have gone. Instead of going to generalized communities, they're taking the whatever game engine they've gone with and they go there. So maybe it's just everyone's working with game engines now. So less general purpose communities just aren't that essential. I'm not really sure at that point. Another one definitely is Unity. Unity's forums are pretty massive at this point. So let's see, check out again, generally it's general. So let's go to the general, see what we're dealing with. 2,400 pages of about 30 a page. So yeah, it's extremely active, and there might be where the communities are. And this isn't just limited to your big two commercial engines. You also go in, you can see the Godot engine, for example, has a very active forum. This was just started, so those numbers are a lot lower, but you will find that there is a solid community built around that. And it's not limited to Godot. LibGDX has a fairly active forum. Pretty much all the game engines, GameMaker has their own communities, etc. So this might be the answer. It might be that everybody is hanging out at the specific forum for their game engine or their content creation tools, such as Autodesk's forums, or actually the world of 3D game art is doing really well. They've got Polycount, they've got other ones I forget. I used to be involved in a site called CG Chat, but it's gone now. But the game artists still have nice forums that aren't actually specific to tool based. So their world seems to be weathering this a little bit better than ours is. So I don't know if I'm making up something that doesn't exist, or does it seem like game dev communities, generalized game dev communities, platform agnostic, game engine agnostic, tool agnostic forums, where you just basically talk about more generalized things, they just seem to be kind of a bit of a dying breed. So anyways, let me know, am I just missing out? Is there a spot out there, a community that I'm just completely unaware of? And actually, there's one of those other things that I've really noticed, and I've actually kind of been shocked since coming to YouTube in the first place, is the chat sections in YouTube and YouTube videos, etc., are very vibrant. So maybe that's part of the answer as well. I see lots of times where, I'll do a video and someone will ask a question, and a lot of times someone else or multiple other people will nicely come forward with the answer. It saves me a great deal of work, and I love that. But I also love that there seems to be a community here as well. So maybe that's where they're going. Now, the only downside to that, and it's like comment sections on my website, then your conversation is tied to that particular video or topic, and that has some challenges too. For example, and I kind of wish that YouTube gave the ability to recycle the comments, so you could have consistency across a series of videos as opposed to just on a single video. Because you do get into that a lot. I will see people ask a question, how do I do this? And I maybe won't answer because I know when they get to the next video or the video after, there will be an answer there. It's just, a matter of, get to it. And, that level of conversation doesn't really have a home now. That whole, more general purpose question, answer, dialogue, or, I chose this engine because of blah. In a civil manner, I hope, because maybe that's why it doesn't exist. Maybe that conversation is the new holy war conversation. It's the new, C versus assembly, or C++ versus Java, or, the pointless conversation of the ages. Maybe game engines have just caused that conversation to just not be worth having. Who knows? But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully there is a place out there that I can call my home. So if you do have a suggestion for me, a place that I, didn't cover here, that is dedicated to general game development, has a vibrant community, is a good place to hang out, please do let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, see y'all later. Goodbye.